Hey everybody, this is Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead. Let's talk about the storms of life. We had some storms roll through last night, and it is the time of year. It's springtime, and we did have those storms roll through, but they weren't bad. They weren't tornadic storms, and thankfully I'd listened to the weatherman before I went to sleep, and he said that they were going to be coming through and about what time of the night they were going to be coming through, and that they weren't really anything that we would have to be concerned about taking shelter because of them being of a serious nature. So he was right, and when I woke up in the night to the storms, and I heard the wind blowing, and it was raining really hard, I didn't get up and go running in there to where Blade and Cheyenne were at to scooch them over so I could get in there with them and feel safe. I was able to roll back over and go to sleep. But as I was going back to sleep, this song crossed my mind, the old hymn, when the storms of life are raging, stand by me. So I began to think about that, and honestly what I was going to bring to you today was something totally different in a whole other direction. But I began to ponder this and begin to think about the storms of life and how the Lord has been so good to me through those storms. And I just wanted to share a little bit about it and try to encourage you just a little bit, and hopefully encourage your hearts to keep on, to keep going in the midst of the storms that life brings us. Now, in life, we face all kinds of storms. Sometimes it's just a rumble and a thunder, and sometimes it's just a rain shower. Sometimes there's hail, and sometimes there's just full-blown storms with driving winds and rains, and we've had all of those in the natural. We've had those kind of storms, and we'll have those kinds of storms again. But in the spiritual, in our life that we spend here, we know that we have storms as well. And this last year has been a testament to that. Many of us have been affected by the coronavirus in a way that changes our life forever. We've been in a storm. You can't help but watch the news on a daily basis, pardon me, and know that there are storms in people's life. Those people yesterday in Colorado, they went to the grocery store to get their groceries, and they say some was there to get their coronavirus shots, and they didn't have any idea that day their life was going to be changed. Some of them lost their lives, and we hate to hear that. That's so terrible. And some people got the news that their family member had been lost, and to them the storms of life are raging today. And bless their dear hearts, I know what they're going through. We can see the mess on the border. We can see the rising gas prices. We can see all of the tension that we have with other countries, and we know that we're in storms of life. In this life, there are people that are struggling to put food on their table, to wondering how in the world they're going to make ends meet. And so none of us are protected from the storms 100%. Nowhere in this country, nowhere in the world is it sunny every day, totally sunny. Nowhere. There's a lot of places that probably the majority of time it's sunny, or maybe there are places that it doesn't rain, like in the desert, but the conditions are not any better. They have sandstorms, and it's hot there, and there's lizards and spiders and snakes and all the stuff that deserts have. Anyway, we all face storms. We all have things that challenge us in our lives. Sometimes the storms are enough to make us feel like we're out of control, like we're just spinning and we don't know what to do, like we're on a roller coaster, up and down, and just, have us just all worked up. And I can say personally that I have experienced those things. And even before all this stuff happened with Howie in the last 4 months, even before that, I've experienced storms in my life from the time I was born till the time I check out of here, and you're the same way. But from the time that you was born to the time you check out of here, you'll face storms in your life. Now, some people don't really experience a lot of tragedy, it may seem, but they'll have storms in their lives that they have to overcome. When I was a little girl, my dad and stepmom, they took us to the fair, to the county fair, and I loved going to the county fair. And they liked to ride the rides. And when I was little, I did too, until, I was a teenager before I actually got sick on a ride. And after that, all I would ever ride was the train at Silver Dollar City, and it's just a train ride. It just goes around the park. But anyway, we went to the fair, and they had this roller coaster there. Now, it's not a roller coaster like you'd see at the big like Six Flags or someplace like that. It was just a little county fair roller coaster, and the name of it was the Super Loop. And nothing doing, I rode it with my dad and one of my brothers. We got going on that thing, and we got to the top of the loop, and we were upside down. The cart stopped, the ride stopped, and we were suspended upside down. And it seemed like it was hours. It really wasn't, but to me it seemed that way. And I had this fear that I was going to fall out, because we were just hanging there. Of course, all the safety stuff was there, but as a little child, that impressed on me that there was danger, and I wanted off of that. I did not. And to this day, I hate roller coasters because of that experience that I had when I was a kid. Another time at the fair, I don't remember if it was the same year. I doubt it, because I don't think I would have got on another ride after that particular time. But another time, my stepmom and she loved to ride rides. And so she was going to ride this one. And I really don't remember if it's called the squirrel cages or the zipper or what it was. I can't remember. But we got in, her and I got inside this cage, and we got to the top, and then the little thing you're in will spin forwards and it'll spin backwards. And she was having so much fun, and I was scared to death. Going forward was bad. Going backwards this way, spinning, was even worse. And I tell you, when the ride was over, I felt so out of control. Even as a little child, I knew that I didn't like that. I didn't like that fear. I don't like to be scared. I don't like for people to scare me. I don't like scary movies of any kind. I don't like that feeling that it does to me. I don't like that. Now, a lot of people love scary movies. My mom, the scarier the better. My sister's that way, but I have never enjoyed being scared. And I was scared on those rides, and I was out of control, and I don't like that feeling either. I'm not saying that I have to be in control of everything in my life, because I know that's not possible. But I don't like feeling out of control, that I have no say-so whatsoever. And that's how I felt on those rides. And that's the way that we can be in our lives. When the storms are raging, we feel out of control. We feel like we have no say-so, that we can't do anything about it. And a lot of the things that happen in our lives, death of a loved one, job loss, sicknesses, sometimes we don't have control over those things, and we have to be able to rest in something. Well, the something that I rest in is the Lord, and I know that He is right there with me, and in those storms of life, He's standing beside me. When I was a little girl, pardon me, I'm having a terrible time today keeping my hair out of my mouth and all this other stuff. But anyway, when I was a little girl, I've already told you before that there was a bunch of kids, and we lived in this old farmhouse. It was a really neat old house, and we lived in this farmhouse, and I think I was probably in the 4th grade, and my stepdad was gone working, and my mom was there at the house with us kids, and they just had one vehicle, so Mom didn't have a vehicle there. She was just there with us kids. We'd gotten home from school the four of us that were school age. And I was sitting at the table doing my homework, and there was a fire in one of the rooms. And so I saw it, and so I yelled out fire to my mama. And so she got all of us kids and got us out of the house. And I don't really know if she did it and she didn't remember it, but she pulled or someone pulled, let me rephrase that. She either pulled the door closed or it closed on its own as she got all of us kids out of there. When she realized that she had all of us, and she probably handed me the baby, I don't remember, she tried to get back in. But that door, that front door, it was an old wooden door, and it would not open. She could not get it open. She couldn't get in. She tried and tried and tried. And I count that as a blessing from the Lord that she wasn't able to get in there, because probably more than likely she might have not been able to get back out. And some of us kids probably would have followed her in. It could have been a terrible tragedy. It was bad enough. We lost our home and everything that we had, but no lives were lost. And after that, my mom, she wasn't diagnosed as being depressed, but I really think that's what it was. She, she lost her joy, and I can remember her laying on the couch, and she had a pink bathrobe, and I can remember her going to the doctor a lot, but I don't remember, I was so young, I don't remember the outcome of all that. I just remember that she went through this phase that she was just kind of withdrawn from everybody, and the storms of life had rattled her to the point where she was just almost at her breaking point. Well, we had to live with my grandparents for a while. All of us, and my mom and stepdad and all 7 kids had to live with my step-grandparents, and it was pretty tough for a while. We were laying on pallets on the floor and just doing the best that we could to get by. And they finally got an old single-wide trailer set up for us, and we moved into that. And they were building onto the front of it a big living room so that they would have a means for, we had to have a wood stove, and they didn't want to put it inside the trailer house. So they were building this big living room onto the front of it. And Mama, she was still sick, and she was still laid on the couch. And so this was the first time for me to make spaghetti for the first time, and to really feel like I was contributing to the family. Like I said, I was in the 4th grade, and the reason I can remember what I made and remember this day so well was because everybody else was outside playing baseball, and that was my favorite sport in the entire world at the time. And they were all playing, and it was springtime, and oh, I wanted to be out there so bad. But Mama had me making spaghetti, and she was laying on the couch, and she was telling me how to do it. And I was looking out there watching them play, and I can remember that the sky looked all nasty and kind of the color of a bruise when it was beginning to fade, that green and black. And I kind of wondered about the sky when I saw it, but at the time I didn't really understand all of the things about bad storms. So that evening, everybody was sitting in the house, and the little kitchen was really tiny, and there was a table in there, so everybody couldn't sit there. There was a few sitting at the kitchen table, and the rest of us were just sitting around different places on the floor with our plates and eating our spaghetti. And the storm came up, and it was all of those storm clouds that I saw, and I just didn't know what they were. And that my stepdad went to the front door and opened the door to look out, and that storm just jerked the front door off. And so he said, we got to go. And where we lived was up on this hill, and back in the day they used to say, well, if we go down in the valley, and a tornado won't come there. Well, I've since learned that that's not exactly true. I have seen where tornadoes went right down in the valley and destroyed, just like they did up where we were at. And so anyway, Dad said, we got to get the kids in the truck, and we got to go. Mama said, just leave me here, because she was still depressed and she was still laying there on the couch. So he rushed all 7 of us kids out there, and then he went back in to get Mama. And while he was in there, a big tree limb fell across the vehicle, and we were screaming and crying. We were scared to death. That's probably another reason why I'm scared of storms today. But here comes my stepdad carrying my mom out to the vehicle and got her in, and we went to where we thought we were safe. And when we got back, there was quite a bit of damage. The part that was being built onto the house was destroyed. There was a great big old sycamore tree right beside our house, and it had lost a big limb and had pushed it right through the kitchen window, right where some of the family would have been sitting, eating their supper. The Lord spared us. You know, it would have been tragic for 7 children to lose their parents as they sat there eating their evening meal, or some of the children. The electric lines were down and everything, but we were safe. After that, they had to rebuild, and that's what we have to do when storms of life touch us, when we are, knocked down in life by these terrible storms. We have to rebuild. We have to pull ourselves up, and we have to readjust, and we have to look at the situation and say, it's not getting me down. I've got to keep going. I got to keep moving forward. Sometimes it's a matter of just putting one foot in front of the other and just kind of trudging along until we get going. Sometimes people just bounce right back and you never knew that anything happened. And that's great. That's wonderful if you can. But sometimes it takes all you have to put one foot in front of the other. That's what we've got to do in this life. In our Sunday school class at church, we've been studying about Paul, and we're just about to the part about his shipwreck when they were on their way to Rome. And I've been studying all about that, and I get excited about the Sunday school stories and the different things that we learn about Paul's life. And I have never been to the ocean. I've been on boats, but it's been out on the lake. And but studying this, I can envision being on this ship, and I can also envision it was probably someplace that I would not have wanted to be. You have to remind yourself that it was not the Love Boat. It's not a cruise ship. It's an old ship out on this ocean, out on this sea. And they're being tossed in this storm from stern to bow and to and fro. I would have been so seasick, I would not have been used to anybody. As they're throwing their cargo out and they're throwing out the tackle of the boat and all the things that are useful things and needful things, they tossed them out so that they could perhaps save the boat. They brought out all those big ropes and wrapped them around the ship, trying to make a sort of a cocoon so that they would be safe, and putting the anchor out to try to slow them. They tried everything, and they had no power over that storm. The storm still came, and the storm still destroyed the ship. Well, we know that in this life, we try to do everything that we possibly can, and sometimes the storm still gets us down. We know in our own lives, in your personal life, and I know in my personal life, that not every time do we survive the storm. Look at my Howie. He didn't survive the storm in the natural, but I know I have all comfort in knowing that he's resting safely in the arms of Jesus, and I can stand on that. But in this life, storms get us down, and we have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. We have to keep working and trudging along. And this is not, I'm not trying to discourage anybody today. I'm trying to encourage you, saying that when the storms of life get us down, we have someone that's right there beside us. And we need to do all that we can do to prepare for the storms. We see them coming. I see them coming. And I know that some of you know that they're coming too. That there's danger on the horizon. You can see it. I can hear the distant rumbling. and I can feel a shift in the winds. You know, when the news tells you, hey, on Thursday there's storms coming. Well, you become a little bit more alert that, hey, on Thursday I need to make sure that all of my storm preparations are up. I need to make sure that my first aid kit is available, and I need to make sure that I've got my generator and the gas for the generator, and I need to make sure that I've got plenty of candles and lights and food and water and all these kind of things. And most of the time we don't even have to need those things, but it just takes one time of being unprepared that you'll wish that you listened to the storm warnings. And I think that we could say that there's a storm warning today. There's a storm warning. And we can hear the rumbling. And we can feel, you know, when those storms are coming here in the springtime. And I know that, you know, all during the day it's building, building, building. And they say, well, when the heat of the day gets here, the storms will start firing up. Well, all day I know to watch, and I can see usually where the storms come out of here, and I can see those storm clouds begin to billow up and begin to, you know, get that big tall cap on them. And I'm probably not using the right terms, but you know what I mean. It starts to get up there, and it's starting to build, and then you can start hearing way, way off the rumblings, and you might be able to see a lightning strike. Or, you know, and then the breeze begins to blow, and then it gets a little bit stronger, and you can actually feel the shift. And sometimes even in the air, you can just kind of feel a difference. You know something's coming, and that expectation that that storm's going to be there begins to build. I don't like storms anytime, but I hate storms in the nighttime because you cannot see. You know, you can hear it, you can feel it, but you cannot see it coming. You can't see what's going on. And that's a scary feeling, to feel like you're out of control and that you have no way out except to seek your storm shelter. I'm still working on a physical storm shelter, and I'm going to get me one eventually. But you might say, well, what do you do? And I just simply say, make a plan, make preparation, discuss with your family the options that you have, the things that you need to do as a family. Do you have supplies? What kind of supplies does your family need? Get yourselves out of debt and continue to do all that you can to be secure for your family. Can we protect ourselves from everything that's coming down the pike? No. Realistically, no, we can't. We can protect ourselves from a lot of things, but there's just things, you know, we live in a sinful world, and we live in a world that people do things that aren't good, and we can't always protect ourselves from that. Look at these poor people yesterday that went to the grocery store, and they lost their lives being at the grocery store. We can't pack everything in and say we're going to live in fear. Our pastor tells this story about this little chick, baby chick, that was in his shell. And it came time for him to hatch out. And so his little shell began to crack, and the pieces began to fall away, and it opens up, and the little chick comes out. And he begins to look around, and he looks over this way and he sees danger. He looks over this way and sees danger. And then he steps back into his shell. He pulls the shell in around him because he didn't want to face it, and he didn't want to live there. Well, we know that we can't do that. We can't shut ourselves off. We can't say we are hiding from the world. We can't do that. But we can make preparation. We can pay attention to the things that we see around us, and we can say we need to be at the ready, because any moment something could happen. The number one thing that we can do is know Jesus. Not just know who he is, but have a personal relationship with him. And when you have that, then you know in the storms of life, the Lord will stand by you, and you won't be alone. That doesn't mean that bad things won't happen. Bad things happen to us because of this world that we live in. You know, there's sickness, there is disease, there's death, there's job loss, there's all of these things. But we can hold fast and know that the Lord has us. And how he always said, you know, whether he, when he had his heart surgery 4 years ago, he said, if I go, you know, they had to put him under for his surgery. And he said, if I wake up here, I'm good. And if I wake up there, I'm better. And so Howie had the understanding that all things were good because he had taken care of the most important preparation. He'd taken care of his spiritual heart. And we need to do that, take care of our spiritual heart and listen. Know that the storms are raging and know that they're going to rage, but know that we're going to be okay. You know, keep working, keep preparing. Those of us that live on our homesteads, you know, we have opportunities to grow our gardens and to can and to have animals and things. But if you don't live on a farm or on a homestead, don't let that stop you. You're able to do things. Don't feel guilty about going to the store and buying canned goods. Don't feel guilty about that. You have something that you have for your family, and it doesn't matter that you didn't prepare it, but you'll be able to fill your baby's bellies when they're crying and they're hungry. You know, make preparation. The storm clouds are building. The storm's on its way. I don't know everything that's going to come to pass, but we can trust that the Lord has us, and we need to do our part and make preparation. Hey guys, this is Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead. I love you. I hope that I said something today to encourage your hearts and not to discourage you. And I love you. I really do love you. You've been so kind to me and to my family. And until next time, as Howie always said, we're gone.